if we can look deeply, we would see that actually worry is another name of love. Because you would not worry about someone or something if that someone or something is not important to your heart.
It is. I love that analogy. It is just another name for love. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode by the Mummy's Love Nest. And this is a safe space for mummies to practice mental care. I'm Cecilia, and with me is Lynn. Lynn is a expecting mom, so she's pregnant currently. And I'm a mom, I would say, for the past 14 years. Today, our topic of discussion is how do we deal with our worries about our baby's health? And we have several questions that I'm sure many of you might have, so we would just address them right here and now. Over to you, Lynn.
Yeah, thank you, Cecilia. And hi, everyone. We're so glad to be back with the topic this week about dealing with worries about baby health. So since I started my pregnancy, this is something that I encounter. So probably let's start with the first question. Can you notice what happens in your mind and your heart and your body when the worries about, what would happen with my baby health? So can you share?
You know, to be honest, when I was pregnant, I did not have mindfulness practice. So I had no idea what was going on in my mind, my heart, my body. But now, as a mom, of course, I have still many worries about my children. So what I've noticed now is in my mind, I start worrying about the future. I go down in an endless cycle of the what ifs, the worst case scenarios that can happen. And it's like an endless black hole that I find myself just falling and falling down. And what happens in my heart is it races, it palpitates, and I can't catch my breath almost. And what happens in my body is that I notice my shoulders get really tense. My neck just stiffens. It becomes very rigid. I start having unexplainable aches and pains. I have cramps sometimes in my stomach. I lose my appetite. And sometimes it can get so bad that if I let my thought, really races away, I also lose my appetite and cannot sleep. I just can't sleep. I have very poor quality sleep. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I'm just the same. The next question would be, what do we normally do with such worries, and what are the results?
What do I normally do? So I will speak from my experience of when I was like a nervous wreck running around and before I really started practicing mindfulness. What happens is that I just keep worrying. I go to the future. I stay there. I get more anxieties. Sometimes I might even go back to the past and trap myself there and think about, what if I had done this differently? Oh, I shouldn't have done that. So there's a lot of self-blame. And I think what happens is that when you trap yourself there in the future and in the past, the situation doesn't get better. I end up being in the state of grief, remorse, and more fright. I don't get any better. That's that was what happened to me when I had worries and didn't have mindfulness practices intact yet.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I try to run away from worries by keep telling myself that, okay, stop worrying, stop worrying. So, like I try to use my willpower to stop all that worries, in the hope that once worries are gone, I could think better and I could solve the problem better. But results are just more worries.
It's always on worries.
No,
So
yeah, worries do not stop. It just get worse.
it's like where I find that over the years that if you don't acknowledge worries, the worries are still there. And the
True.
more you repress them, the more they seem to want to catch up to you.
Yeah.
And the faster you try to run. But we can only have so much energy to keep running and to keep running at that fast pace before we just become emotionally exhausted and drained.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So totally agree with you. And then I remember one time when I realized that, okay, so actually worries are something inside my heart. And no matter how fast I run and how far I could run, I can never run away from my heart. So there's no point in running.
No point. There's no point.
Yeah.
They will always catch up to you.
Always. So I'm sure that you also think that it's great that now we have mindfulness practices that can help us to be with worries better. So can you share with us what are some mindful ways that you have used to handle worries about baby's health?
Yeah, so knowing now that, the worries are going to come and go, and that it eventually catches up with me, my mindfulness practices have helped me to look at them square in the face and just say, here you are. And I stop myself from running.
Mm.
And then I pause myself, my thoughts on getting onto this train of endless worries and endless regrets, right?
Mm.
Then I question really the rationale and the validity of the thoughts behind my worries. Yeah. And then I think to myself, I ask myself, this thought, this worry that I'm having, wait a minute, are you getting into a cycle of negative bias? Which is, are you getting into this cycle of thinking the worst case scenarios again? Because it is very much natural for the human mind to have this negative bias. It is through the evolution of the human race to think of the worst case scenario, because way back when our ancestors were cavemen, you have to assume the worst case scenario. Like when you hear that noise, it could be a bear outside of your cave. So yeah, you better think it's the worst case scenario and I better get stressed and run. But obviously we don't live in caveman ages and circumstances anymore. But unfortunately, that negative bias is still there, ingrained into, I think, our minds, So after I remind myself that, okay, you're probably in a negative bias cycle, then I think, okay, if I'm really, really in doubt, hey, you know what? There's always a doctor that you can ring up. You ring up your doctor or your the teacher of the kids if it's like an academic worry for your kids, right? Like I just remind myself that I'm not alone in dealing with whatever this problem might be in front of me. I have the support, the resources to help me through this. And finally, even when I seek those support for advice, I have to also remind myself to be mindful of the resources that I'm going to for advice. I have to remember to be discriminate of who are these people, who are these sources I'm going to for advice. Because again, any advice that you get online or from a person, it is based on that person's perspectives. And that person's perspectives, I have to remember, is very much based on their own unique experiences or even their emotions at that time when they share that advice or how they perceive what happened. So, yeah. So it's a lot of deliberate pausing, questioning my thought process, and being really selective even about where I get my support from.
Yeah.
That's my
Right.
approach.
Yeah. So what I get from it is the practices, the mindfulness practices help you to stay conscious and not getting into that autopilot mode of worrying, right?
Yeah, it makes me to be calm. Number one, pause, calm, and then pause and then calm. And then when you have that calmness, you can think more clearly.
Yeah, that's right. So from my own experience, I also start doing the same as you do, which is pausing, and then do some mindful breathing, so that I could be more aware of the worries, and then I personify the worries, and then imagine all the worries as a small child. So I would treat the worries like that small and scared child. So hold it in my arms. So normally I would do like this. I put my arm on my heart, and then another arm just grab it like so. It's like holding a baby, like this. Yeah. And then I would let her tell me why she got worried, and then listen to her wholeheartedly and calmly. And next, I would let her know that I'm here with her all the time, so she's not alone. And whatever happens, we always have each other's back. And I want to make sure that I always tell her that I love her, and then I can soothe her with physical touches. So probably, just soothing my heart, or embracing myself like so. And then, I could notice the results that normally she is more soothed, which means that the worries lessen in intensity. But I know that worries might come back. And I also want to remain being mindful to hold worries just like so.
Right. I love that you take such a wonderful self-compassion approach to your worries. You're treating your worries as really, like in your words, as a child, maybe in somebody else's words, as a good friend, just as a loved one. You're saying, hey, I acknowledge you. I'm not going to run away from you because you're scared. Yeah, I acknowledge you. I'm here for you. And I love that you normalize hugging your worries like you would hug your, a small child or your best friend who's frightened, and that's what we need. And unfortunately, when we have worries, when we don't, sometimes, a lot of times we're very scared to share them out loud with other people. And then we console ourselves, but we're afraid to give ourselves hugs because we think it's weird. But why not? Thich Nhat Hanh has said that hugs is actually a meditation. It's a form of meditation. So I love that. But I think we want to stress to our viewers as well that if you feel your worries are getting too overwhelming and you just can't deal with them anymore, even with all your mindfulness practices and despite like how often you hug yourself, and tell yourself not to worry, that you're here for your worries. If it gets too much, it's okay to, seek professional help. Let's also normalize that, right? Because sometimes there's only so much we ourselves can do for ourselves.
Yeah, that's right. And do you also think that actually stigma about worry, the difficult emotions comes from a belief that they are harmful and they're not good for us? But if we can look deeply, we would see that actually worry is another name of love. Because you would not worry about someone or something if that someone or something is not important to your heart. So worry is just another name of love. So you can open your heart.
That analogy.
Yeah.
It is. I love that analogy. It is just another name for love. When you worry, is because you love. And in this case, because you love your child that you're worried about, and you love yourself. And we all have and deserve the birthright to love ourselves, first and foremost, I think.
Yeah. That's
yeah. Okay, well, thank you everyone for tuning in to another episode of the Mommy's Love Nest. We hope that you have enjoyed this episode, and I hope that you will join us for future episodes as well. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.